Welcome to another episode of the Color and Cannabis podcast. This week we're super excited to have a very honored guest, Mr. Tucky Blunt.
Hey.
The first owner of the owner of the first equity dispensary anywhere in the world, and someone I've looked up to for many years, out there grinding, opening his dispensary, having an amazing platform for a lot of black and brown products that were out there in the space, which was desperately needed with shelf space, and he always provided that and provided opportunity for a lot of us to grow in this space. So welcome, Mr. Blunt.
Man, thank you for having me, bud. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. So I have so many questions, really, but we'll really start with your background. I know Blunts and More. I think a lot of the people watching this will know Blunts and More as well. But before you open your dispensary, how did you get into the cannabis industry?
So cannabis has been in my life since I was born. Both my parents sold cannabis. My granny smoked cannabis. Cannabis was never bad to us in our family.
Nice.
We knew it was for the adults, but it was never like a secret. I got involved in cannabis initially when I was 13. It's when I smoked my first joint. It was cool. I was like, all right, I finally feel like I think the adults felt it was cool, but it wasn't like nothing I wanted to do every day.
Yeah.
16, which I was in 1996, I turned 16, and I knew then there was a need for my friends that wanted weed. And I was like, well, I want to facilitate that need. How do I figure that out? So I literally just bought some weed. Good weed. I knew how to find good weed. Don't ask me how. I just knew. I knew what good weed smelled like from my parents. I knew what Bammer smelled like, and I knew I didn't want Bammer. So I was like, let me find some good. Back then we had the light green. Got some light green. I worked at a place called Lucky, which is a grocery store. Lucky's. It might have an S. And one of my coworkers happened to see me on a break and smelled me. And I was like, man, what is that? Where you get that from? And I'm like, played it off like, oh, whatever. They're like, man, if you can give me some of that, I'll buy it all. I'm like, well, what do you mean buy it all? He's like, man, I need like an ounce of it. By then, I didn't really know what an ounce was. Yeah. I had just bought, a couple of little, I think I bought a half. I bought a half first. I was like, all right, give me a couple of weeks or give me a week or so. I'll get it back to you. I ended up coming back like a couple of days later. Long story short, he bought a zip, and then he told the rest of the coworkers. I didn't know none of this. I didn't even know all them coworkers smoked. I sold my first QP in 3 days.
All right.
And it was on.
That you knew.
It was like, all right, I can make money here. And back then in 96, all my friends going to jail, friends doing this, getting in trouble, friends going to YA for different stuff. I realized, okay, I can make money selling this at work. I forgot something. The main reason I started working was at when I told you I smoked at 13.
Yeah.
I got my first job when I was 13. Shout out Oakland has a program called the YEP program, Youth Employment Partnership. I worked up at Skyline. Skyline had a park called I can't think of the name of the park, but it's a park not too far from Skyline High School. I worked there, mentored kids, made pancakes for them for their little camp. Got my first paycheck. I went to Brown's Brothers Shoes in Alameda, bought my first pair of shoes on my own, and let me know then I didn't have to sell on the street to make money. And that changed my life forever. I felt like I didn't have to be what I saw. I could actually make money by going to work. They like, oh, don't go to work. You can be out here. I made money there. And then now I'm able to make money doing what I love to do anyway at work. So
a safe environment.
Safe environment. And guaranteed money because I know when you get paid.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just kept applying that pressure, kept going. 1999, I heard about my first cannabis club. My grandmother, rest her soul, she had me, I'm taking her on errands. We pull up to 19th and Telegraph, right up the street from Dope Air, white building on the corner. And she goes in there, comes back out, white bag. I'm like, Granny, what's that? She's like, it's weed. I'm like, you bought weed out of a store? She was like, yeah. I said, oh, yeah, I want one of them. I didn't know nothing of this was going to happen. This was 99. But that day forward, I immersed myself in the cannabis industry. I got my cannabis card, the medical card.
I remember, still got my old ones.
I went and worked at a bunch of different clubs. That's when they had clubs, Oakland, Frisco, Berkeley. Like, you can just, every block you got stores. Yeah. Back in them days.
The Wild Wild West.
And then I ended up working at some stores and buying from the stores and just immersed myself in it. 2022, I came back from Alabama and learned how to grow. By
2002?
2002. I said 22.
It's all good.
2002.
Yeah.
I had to think about 3 years later. So 2002, I started growing. By 2003, 2004, the stuff we was growing was in dispensaries. A lot of people didn't even know I was growing weed. So all this time I'm still selling weed, but they're not knowing that it's the weed I'm growing mixed with some of the weed that I'm buying. I always had different flavors. So did all that, grew the weed, kept selling the weed. But I was always told we would never be able to own dispensaries in the space. I was told this by other humans. Like, no, black people won't own the space. These are good friends of mine. I'm like, well, why? And it was like, man, they're not going to be able to afford it. It costs for the land and this, that, and the other. And I was like, man, I'm going to figure out a way. We fast forward, still working, raising kids, still selling weed, still having fun, still doing what I normally do. 2017, I had was working at Tesla. Tesla reached out to me to have them to have me teach people how to detail cars. So I've been detailing the same length of time I've been working. I've been detailing cars.
Like, you had a detailing shop.
I had a mobile detailing shop. My dad, I was raised in a detail shop. My dad and my uncle had a detail shop in Hayward. So second nature. My dad was selling weed too. You know what I'm saying? Hustler.
Entrepreneurial spirit.
Period. So I'm doing all that, working for Tesla. Everything's going great. One of my bosses got mad at me because he hired a bunch of people that I'm supposed to train. But mind you, I'm in LA learning how to train these people. So when I get back, he tried to fight me. Long story short, I tell him if he's getting close, I'm going to beat his ass. The lady who was separating him from me ended up firing me. And I'm like, damn, how I get fired? I'm crying. I'm sad. Great job. Great benefits. I made my own hours. They reached out to me. So I got to make my own job. Now I'm fired. What I'm finna do? I get a call from Mike Marshall. Shout out Mike Marshall. Mike Marshall is a friend of mine. He's also the voice of I Got Five on it. If you hear the song I Got Five on it and there's a guy singing, that's Mike Marshall.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
Mike Marshall called me and said, hey, Tucky, you ever caught a weed case in Oakland? So I failed to mention, I caught a case. I forgot about that. So I caught a case in 2005. Somebody snitched on me. Didn't think nothing of it. Caught the case, bailed out the same night, was right back selling weed the next day. Nothing stopped. But keep that in mind. So he like, Tucky, you ever caught a weed case before in Oakland? I'm like, yeah. He like, well, there's two sisters I want you to connect with out of Atlanta. They know something about something in Oakland called an equity program, but they can't qualify for it because they need someone from Oakland who's caught a case. I'm like, well, what they want from me? He was like, just to meet with you. I was like, what you want? He was like, nothing, just, you know, they asked, I knew you, put y'all together. That's how I met the two Miss Moores. I won't say their names because they don't need to get that from me, but I met them too. We hit it off, I thought. Everything was cool. We applied, application submitted. They had a lottery, you know about the bingo ball lottery. Yeah. We had the lottery January. That's crazy.
It was actually a literal lottery.
It was literal bingo ball lottery.
The ball's running in the thing. Yes. They're pulling out numbers, calling them out.
Yes.
Like changing people's lives with a game.
Yes. Yeah. And what was crazy about it is we put our ball, I physically put our ball in third overall in the chamber. Third overall. For that ball to still be remaining in there after all, it was 36 rolls. They had to roll it 36 times. And if you were the last ball in that chamber, you won a license. That's how we won our license. So two people I'd never met before. We met in October of 17. We now have a license in January of 2018 to open a cannabis business. That's how I won my license, literally bingo ball. Won the license. Had to find somewhere to open, which was a pain in the butt. Couldn't find nowhere. A lot of the places we looked at had liens on them. It was all it was a shit show when the equity program started. But we found the space right across from the Coliseum, which used to be the old Napa Auto Parts. Opened a store in 2018. It was called Blunt Some More. My last name, her last name. And I thought we were on our way to doing big things in the community, big things in the world. And while I was on that page, they were stealing from me. So
that's often the case.
But that's how I got started. Weed has been in my life forever. My last name is really Blunt. I love that, Mr. Blunt. We used to get teased in junior high, but I didn't care because I've always smoked. Yeah. So people like, Tucky got blunts. He's always had blunts. It's no big deal. It wasn't like a big thing to me that I ever think that this would be. But I'm here now, and I'm talking to you about it. So that's kind of like how Blunt Some More got established. The weed man finally got a store. And my store was 13 blocks from where I was arrested for selling weed. So it was really in my same community that took me to jail for selling weed. Now I'm here back doing it legally.
Well, it feels like your case was exactly what the equity program was designed for. You take someone with business knowledge, who's hungry, who's had experiences with the law that they shouldn't have had to deal with, and then instead of just languishing with that, you flip that into a potentially successful business.
Yes.
But obviously the cannabis industry is rife with issues, particularly the equity program has been very complicated. What were some of the difficulties that you experienced dealing with the equity program?
Out the gate, again, let me say the equity program is a great thing. I wouldn't be here talking to you if I hadn't got that license.
Absolutely.
But it's just like with anything, it needs fine tuning. The main issue with the equity program, there was no funding. So we have a license to go open a store with no money. Yeah. And in most cases, no knowledge of the legal cannabis space. Whereas the two people I partnered with, they had legal knowledge. One was a cannabis CPA, or supposedly she said. But then I had my knowledge, a little bit of working in clubs before, Prop 2 15 days, and just being in the streets. But Funding and education were the two biggest issues in the cannabis space, kind of like still now.
Absolutely.
But for the equity, education, and funding, we weren't educated enough to know what to do. And then we didn't have enough funding to do anything.
Yeah.
So it kind of forces you to partner with thieves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you basically got $1 billion license with no education.
Yeah.
And no funding, and you're expected to succeed.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that.
It was a real sad thing when the program did start that so many predatory companies came around trying to look for these opportunities, and the city kind of saw it coming but didn't really know how to prepare for it because they didn't really understand the landscape as well.
Correct.
And so you wound up having people with mad experience marketing and selling cannabis who knew what they were doing, being partnered with money people who had no idea how to make cannabis work in California. And it made an unfair situation for a lot of people.
100%.
A lot of people have gotten burned. A lot of people have gotten their hopes up and crushed.
100%.
So what were some of the joys of actually having the business? I know there's a lot of headaches, but what were some of the things that you really enjoyed about having your dispensary?
Honestly, the joy was more than the headaches, even though the headaches were, messed up, you know what I mean, and stuff I had to go through, I'm sure we'll get into. But I'm a positive person, so I try to look at the positive first. Mm-hmm. I'm the first person, the first ex-felon for cannabis sales to own a legal cannabis dispensary. And the first on earth. Anywhere. And the first in Oakland. So aside from being the first, ex-felon to have the dispensary, I'm also the first to have an outdoor consumption lounge in Oakland, which is super huge. And I also, for me, sharing my space was what gave me the most, gratification. You've been at events at the store. I created a space kind of like when I got arrested, we were on the turf. We was chilling. We was hanging out. We was eating Wingstop. We was having block parties. So I basically recreated my turf at Blunts and More. You come there, you protect it. It's a good, safe environment. You can smoke your weed in peace. My moniker was commune and consume. I wanted to create a space for people to be able to enjoy their product safely. That for me was my positive. That was my, I look forward to every day people being able to come to the store to accomplish that. So I didn't try to live in the negative, but the negative took over because it was so much. You're dealing with robberies. You're getting robbed by a partner. I was broken into 5 times in 6 years. Yeah. And I know insurance ain't shit in our space. So I just ate most of those losses. Yeah. How long can you keep doing that? You know what I mean?
I think what was extra frustrating is when the robberies were happening, the idea that they didn't understand that this was a black-owned business, this was something that was supporting the community, this is a place that you would actually want to be and actually go. And it's we have to learn to protect ourselves in these spaces. I mean, it's a volatile being cannabis in general.
Yes.
There's safety issues, there's concerns around all that, but us as a community, we need to do a better job of supporting our own and then protecting our own. So that was particularly frustrating to see you have to go through that time and time again of youngsters just having no idea and running through.
And what's crazy is some of them had an idea. Yeah. So I was getting calls from people who nephews and nieces they got some of your stuff, Tucky. And they had to kind of check them you don't do that. You know what I'm saying? But my thing is, don't just not do it to me. None of us should be broken into.
Yeah.
White, black, brown. It's too hard to make money in this space to have to deal with what we're going through. I think insurance is the biggest farce in the game at all. It's illegal what insurance is doing to us in the cannabis space. Because we pay ridiculous amounts of money and they don't do anything.
Yeah.
Nothing. I think the most I got back from a claim is maybe $10,000.
That's ridiculous.
Our average loss in a claim is 40 to 50. What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just but again, I try to rely on the positive. I got a space people can come through. I got a bunch of events that I throw for people. We do and I'm the kind of person, I told you off camera, I don't mind doing something that somebody else does it or takes it or
they benefit from it. You're
don't bother me one bit. You can look around the cannabis space right now and see the different events that people are doing. You know where they came from. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that's cool with me. That means that I did something that somebody else can relate to and say, you know what, I should do that too. That's what keep me going.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's not me. It's not leading with Tucky or it's not leading with Blunts and More. I'm about Oakland. You know what I'm saying? I'm about the cannabis community growing and sharing what we all going through so we all don't got to bump our head. I'll bump it for everybody else as long as you listen to what I'm going to tell you. You know what I mean?
If they want to listen. That's
if they want to listen.
As we're now seeing equity programs kind of popping up around the country, I'm curious about 2 angles. One, what regulators can do better, and then what the new operators can do better. But just from a regulatory point of view, when people who are trying to get involved in local equity or they're designing the local equity program, what do you think, what are some of the lessons that they can take from Oakland so they can design equity programs that actually work for the community and the industry as a whole?
I mean, one, talk to the community. I mean, get the community involved, because these are the people that are going to benefit from this the most. So you need their input of what's going on, what that looks like. Also, they need to be willing to adjust that every year or so for what happens depending on where you at. You know what I'm saying? Things change.
Yeah.
What you agreed to today may not work this same time next year. It just may not work for the program. You got to be willing to make those adjustments. Also think you got to take greed out of it. A lot of these different companies and different regulatory bodies, there's a lot of greed involved. Yeah. So they got to get rid of that. But I also think too, and people are not going to like this, it starts with the voting. We have to vote people locally in those local elections that you're going to want in the office to do what it is you want them to do. Now, granted, humans lie. You can vote for someone that can get in office and not do none of the things that they said they was going to do while they got approached the office. But you hold them accountable because why? This is a democracy.
Yeah.
So you're able to say, hey, motherfucker, you didn't do that. We need to fix that. We're not doing that as a people.
That's true.
We're not doing that. We're not holding them accountable when they say, if we voted you in based on these things and you got in office and you ain't did none of them, we have a right to get you out. And we're not doing that. So for me, the other people that are popping up, I've talked to people from Connecticut that have flown 2 blunts or more to specifically talk to me about what's going on. Massachusetts, that's what needs to be done. Not just me. Fuck me. It could be whoever. They can come talk to Taryn. What I'm saying is y'all need to come talk to people that have lived it in order to understand how to craft it.
Yes.
And as long as they do that, we should be cool. But as long as they know the people coming into the space and the people that are, planning the space, we have to be able to say, hey, this may not work. Let's change this if we need to change this. That's like the biggest. People talk a lot of shit about Greg, and I know this is going to come out or whatever. Greg's an administrator. He only is administering what laws are given to him by the people we voted in. If you got something you want to say to him, holla at him. He's a human, and he's one of the coolest motherfuckers on the planet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the other legislative bodies that you're gonna run into, they're not gonna be like Greg. I'm speaking on Oakland. He know what we're talking about. Y'all know what we're talking about. But you need more people like that because we're able to influence what's going on by just showing him, hey, this worked and this didn't work.
Yeah.
Those other governing bodies have to be willing to listen to the community they're trying to administer laws to.
Absolutely. Yeah, Oakland really, for folks who don't know, Greg Minor is the man responsible for administering the cannabis program in Oakland. One of several people, but he's the key person. And Oakland is really, really lucky because Greg is just an honest guy. He's not here trying to make a lot of money. He doesn't play favorites. He just presents them with what makes sense, and he's going to do the most logical thing because he wants cannabis to work in Oakland. He wants cannabis to work for black and brown folks, in particular in Oakland. And I think if you go to a lot of other cities, the people that have a stranglehold over like licensing and control of something that has a lot of economic teeth to it, that person might not be honest. That person's often corrupt. So the idea that the person that we deal with really wants what's best for everyone, answers emails, shows up to at events, and it's just a very humble, mellow guy. I mean, I love Greg to death, and his previous boss, Joe DeVries, was the same way. Just people who just genuinely wanted to see things work. And in a city like Oakland, where city politics is a little complicated, having someone who's an honest, straight shooter like that is a gem.
Now. So, and like I said, he's administering the laws that we vote on.
Exactly. We have to be involved.
We have to be involved. And that's a big key thing with equity, which is not just equity, just laws involved. I mean, laws in general. My oldest son is 25. My youngest daughter is 16. None of them give a fuck about voting. Yeah. But it's because it's not taught about anymore. When I was I'm 44. When I was in school, we had a class specifically for voting and understanding the importance. I couldn't wait to turn 18 to vote because I knew if I'm voting here, it's going to help here, here, and here. If you only vote every 4 years, you're only voting for the president. You're not voting for anything. Yeah. So it's like by the time it gets to the president, he's only going to administer the laws from those 2 lower legislative and judicial branches. He's only can do that. Yeah. If you didn't vote for none of those people in those branches, then you have no dog in the fight. There's nothing you can say. If you didn't, so you get a lot of people like, oh, it doesn't make no sense for me to vote. Yes, it does. Yeah. It does. But you have to view it every 2 years. You can't just vote every 4 years. And that's not being taught about. And I believe that's on purpose, T. I believe that, like, my kids wouldn't even talk cursive. We taught our kids cursive. Yeah. They used to teach cursive in school. Why not teaching it no more? These are things that people may not think are read related, but they are because it goes down to the laws and stuff. Yeah. So
No,
Different angle.
I think it's really important, especially about voting outside of just the presidential elections. I remember when I was on the Oakland Cannabis Regulatory Commission, and then we would go to a lot of city council meetings. When it was time for cannabis conversation, the room was full. And then once that cannabis agenda left, everyone filed out. And the city council sees this. They see you only show up for your issue.
Yep.
You're not worried about potholes. You're not worried about schools. You're not worried about the new police chief. And they need to see us actively engage in politics as a whole to really get that respect. And people need to see who they're voting in at the city council level, at the school board level, and see the impact it has on their everyday life. And they don't see it. They just wait till the last minute and then cry and complain when things don't go their way.
Correct.
So being actively involved in your city and politics from day one is key.
And it's pain. Look, don't get me wrong, it's time consuming.
Yeah.
But you got to figure out, okay, if you got 9 friends, you go this one, I go to this one. You got to figure out a way to do it, because that's one of the main reasons we haven't seen stuff go as far as it could be, not just on a national scale.
Yeah.
It's because of who we voted in and how we're not holding them accountable if they're not doing what we voted them in for.
Absolutely.
Democracy means, by definition, for the people, to my knowledge, unless the definition didn't change. So if that's the case, and if you're not doing what the people voted you to do, we have a right as the people to say, hold the fuck on. We're not doing that.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. So we see the ideas or some of the things that we can do for the regulators to kind of do it differently. And for the people who are actually in these equity programs, what are some of the things that they should know that they should be looking out for, whether it's finding a good partner or just how they launch, or just what would advice you give someone who actually has the opportunity to open their own dispensary?
My key for anything equity or anything just business-wise is own the fucking land.
Yeah.
Figure out a way. Like, I got real estate homies. I tell them all the time, I'm like, dude, if you be a cannabis realtor, you know how much money you can make? Like, most cannabis properties, they want $4 a square foot. The average normal price for commercial space is maybe $75 to $1.25 max.
Yeah.
I can go do a survey right now. I guarantee you 99% of people are going to respond. They're paying $3 or more for their space. So if you could become a realtor in the space, or like I said, own the land, you ahead of the game already. Yeah. Because you can, your price don't have to be as much. That $4 a square foot adds up. You got 1,000 square foot space. You spending $4,000 just on rent.
Yeah.
We ain't talking about security. We ain't talking about nothing else. Staff, nothing. Just rent. It's a lot of money. Yeah. And in most cases, when you go to open these businesses, you're not going to be able to open for at least a year with all the legislative stuff you go through and
fire department,
all the stuff you got to go through.
Water.
You still have to pay rent all that time. Yeah. Where does that money come from?
Yeah.
So a lot of us don't know that coming in. We thinking, oh, we just finna get a license and get right to the money. Nah, man, you might go a year paying rent at a space you can't even open.
Yeah.
Who has money to do that?
Exactly.
So aside from being able to get funding, I talk to your family, talk to your friends. If you know you want to get in this space, start pooling money amongst the people you know. You know what I'm saying? Because trying to get, there's different funds you could apply for, whatever, but trying to get money in this space is hard, especially on the new side. They don't really have a lot of money sitting around. Yeah. Or they do, but you don't know about it. Yeah. So for me, the key, if I had known, if there was a me talking to me when I first came in, I would have owned the land. I wouldn't even got a place until I owned the land. I would have been looking for places to buy. And that's something that the city didn't know. They're connecting with people to rent. They don't understand the value of the buying because they're just trying to get you in. But no, we need to own this land. Like, us renting from you, I can get kicked out tomorrow if you don't want me here. And then what I do for my company. Yeah. Go ahead.
That's a great opportunity for the city to help. Like, they would want to figure out ways that they can be involved and help people reach success. And they have all these properties that they either own or control. They're just sitting there available. So if the city has property and you have a potential business owner who doesn't want to get raped by whoever's going to give them access to property, let the city get them access to it, give them some kind of like program where they can buy it at a cheap rate or just use it for X amount of time without paying the rent and the mortgage, dealing with the taxes associated with that, so they can get their business up off the ground. There's opportunities that the city's
currently trying to do that right now, because I know for a fact, like we just talked about, it's so many spaces that aren't being rented since the pandemic. The city owns a bunch of these spaces. How y'all haven't figured out that y'all can rent some of these spaces to not just equity? Because I don't want people you get some people give equity a bad name because, this for the poor, whatever. This is for anybody. Yeah. Whoever has a business, cannabis or not, the city has empty spaces. Yeah. What do we got to do to get us some of these businesses in these empty spaces? And now you're making money off this empty space. You might not be making as much money as you could if you were charging $4 a square foot, but you weren't making any money at first.
Exactly.
So how do we do that? And then that gives the city a great look. Like, look at what we're doing. And it's not you're doing it for the look, but it just looks good. It does. The optics of us having these empty spaces, and then now we're giving them to licensees, license holders, and we're able to
I mean, it makes sense for the city as a whole because when you have these spaces that are empty, those streets aren't being taken care of. They're not clean. They're not safe. And suddenly you have a business there that has its own security plan because it's already been proven repeatedly. You move a cannabis business, a dispensary into a neighborhood, it's safer and it's cleaner. And we have the statistics
Because we have to do it.
Exactly.
It's part of our
Exactly.
we have to have it. What is your beautification plan? That's in our application.
Yes. So there's a great opportunity for the city to basically be able to clean up in neighborhoods or clean up areas without them actually paying for it. Just give people an opportunity to succeed. That increases the tax base. There's more jobs in that area, and it beautifies and makes that area a little bit safer. And so the cities have that power within their hands. They just don't kind of realize how to do it.
And that's where we come in at. People like us. Like, that's why we glad we have a person like Greg, Nancy, them, because we can say, hey, this is what we're seeing on the streets. Like, I talk to these people just off. I don't call them just about stuff with Blunts and More. You know what I'm saying? Or with the Happy Lounge or with my delivery company. I'm calling them about stuff I'm seeing for everybody.
Yeah.
Again, fuck me.
Yeah.
I'm just a person that's a vessel for what we need to do overall. It's never about me. When I call them, like, what are we doing here? Like, because I can sell weed. I've been able to sell weed since I was 16. I'm not tripping off selling weed. I'm not tripping off. I can go get a job making whatever. Fine. I can do consulting. I can do speaking engage, all that. But when it comes to Oakland and cannabis, I care about that, especially East Oakland, because it's pretty much a void. Yeah. I mean, you got Manny them, kind of, shout out my cousins, kind of, they got their store in the Fruitvale, but deep East Oakland, it's a desert.
Yeah.
It's a desert. High Time's gone. Vitology, I think, kind of open, or they under something else. They got a place I seen last night on the news that's new, that's open, but overall, it's a barren desert for cannabis. And quite frankly, for most businesses. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of my cleaners I went to as a kid is closing down. I'm trying to buy it. And it's like, dang, how the cleaners is closing? They just like, we just tired. Our kids don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So we just tired. So it's opportunities there that I think the city is missing out on, but they're trying to get to it. And definitely these other cities. Y'all take notes. Like, take notes. Don't just take the bad notes. Oakland did a great thing. Yeah. But everything needs, a sprucing up or a tuning up.
Yeah, I think really a lot of people outside of the community don't really understand the opportunities within the equity program, just because people feel the perception is, oh, we're just giving away money to poor folks or just giving away business to poor folks. And it's like, no. For generations, you came to one community to buy weed.
Yes.
For generations, one community or a couple of communities kind of set the culture of what cannabis is. The Black and Latino culture gave you your idea of what cannabis is. Yes. We gave you the culture. And so if you assuming that those people can't then market and be successful in the legal space is just ridiculous.
Period.
So give these people the opportunity who you've always been buying it from, who you let define the culture for years, give them the opportunity to be in the space instead of these corporate brands. I've seen a bunch of corporate brands blow up and disappear,
I was just finna say,
they don't understand the culture.
Them motherfuckers will open Tuesday and be closed the next Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then open up again.
Yeah.
That's how I learned about the game with the LLCs for the longest time. I could have closed Blunts and More after the Moors did the first incident and ran off with the money. I could have closed then. But I was scared because I'm like, well, shit, my LLC is tied to this DBA. I'm not knowing about bankrupting LLCs.
Yeah.
They know about that. They bankrupt 15 of them in a year. They bankrupt one once a month. They got another one lined up. I didn't understand that game. I'm like, oh. So I was like, well, no, I don't want to do that right now. Let me keep going. I tried another 2 years and it was just like, yeah, no, I'm about to go ahead and let this go bye-bye. It's not making any money. And I can show reasons why. Oh, and it's not going to affect my credit? Oh, and I can go ahead and open another LLC? Okay, well, let me make sure the city okay with that. Hey, city. They was like,
whatever. Dude, that's business.
I'm like, what? Oh. But we don't.
Yeah.
We don't know that in most cases. And the ones that look like us that do know that, they're not sharing that game.
It's predatory. They're coming in. We won't name any names, but there's some families that come in here with a lot of knowledge and take advantage of a lot of people in the community for their own benefit, and the community is still left needing help.
Period. Like, everybody like, well, I'm like, nah, like, the stuff that went on with Blunts and More, I should have been rich, but there was no way for me to get rich. I had a partner that was stealing from me. They went to open a whole nother club in a whole nother state. Took a whole bunch of staff members, did all that. I'm getting robbed while that's going on. So I still was able to reopen. Okay, cool. We bounced back. We trying to kick it off. But then I'm in bed with my landlord, who is also stealing from me. I'm talking about 2 sets of books stealing from me. And we ain't even like, I haven't even put them on blast like they need to be on blast because I'm just waiting. But Grizzly Peak Farms? No, sir. I stood by them, thought they was good. Them motherfuckers was at my wedding. You know what I'm saying? Like, how you at my wedding stealing from me, dog? Yeah. And I'm not knowing because I'm in the streets. You know, I had bills with y'all before. I couldn't understand. I'm like, how I got a bill? But I'm looking at spreadsheets that say everything's paid.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm not thinking that they're falsifying the spreadsheets and got a whole nother set of books, because I'm thinking we being trustworthy. Y'all know what I just went through. Yeah. And I'm in the meetings, I'm making sure, but when I'm in the public and they're like, yeah, Tucky, we done tried to reach the store 5 times. You know, me never dealt with each other on no payment stuff, because that's not my part of the store.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when I'm in the streets and they can't reach the store, they gonna holler at me.
Yeah.
So I'm getting approached angrily in some cases, like, Tucky, why we ain't being paid? And I'm like, I really don't know what y'all talking about. Because I'm looking, like, I've had to send the spreadsheets to people. I'm like, it says, like, Tucky, that's false. I had a GM who ended up leaving. I won't say her name, but thanks to her, I ended up hitting her one day and was like, hey, you know, something ain't right. I got my hunches, but I'm trying to think, is there any way that you can help me prove it? She said, Tucky, while I was there, I was conflicted because I own my store and I own my brand. But I hired people to run the store because I didn't know how.
Absolutely.
And then because my previous partner didn't teach me how. So I'm learning how to run the store, not in the store.
Yes. Because
the people that are in the store want me out the store because they're stealing.
Yeah.
So we're going through that, whatever. And she said, being that I'm not there no more, I could actually I want to send you something. She sent me the second set of books. I'm like, what is this? She was like, it's another set of books that they were keeping, but line them up to the books that you got. Bro, when I say every vendor payment that was supposed to go out for 2 years, they're paying themselves. Every single payment. And I was able to line it up. I was like, whoa. Mind you, what they showing me, everything is good. They paying everybody. So I'm like, all right, cool. We finna get to, how am I supposed to survive that?
Yeah.
On top of, there were vendors, and this is something that needs to be talked about too. There were vendors who were bringing weed for upwards of 1.5 years straight in increments of every 3 months, every 4 months, dropping off weed, not getting paid. Coming back, dropping off more weed, not getting paid. But then as soon as I took over, now you got to get all your money back. We need all our money back right away or we're going to sue you. First of all, they can't sue you because cannabis is fairly illegal. So all these, this is some free game that I learned recently. All these lawsuits that they talking about, we're going to sue you, they can't sue you. Who they going to sue you? They can throw it at you, act like they're going to sue you, but as soon as you go to court, it's going to get thrown out because it's not federally legal. So unless you personally took something in and signed for it, they can go after you, but going after the brand, let the LLC fall. Fuck it. Bankrupt it. I'm not telling y'all to do that, but I'm telling y'all to do that. Because
that's what other people are doing.
It's what they're doing.
The big boys, the ones who are the most established, are taking advantage of people left and right through the same vehicle. So
yes, and we're not taking advantage if, like I had the conversation with one guy because they'll try to get funky with you, and I was like, well, sir, I see that we have this debt, but I also see that for 1.5 years, y'all were dropping off product and not getting paid. Can you explain that? He was like, well, you want to tell me how to run my business? I said, no. But I need to understand why you were dropping off weed for 1 year straight and not getting paid. But now all of a sudden you have to get paid. I'll meet you halfway, but there's no way I'm giving you all that money back. I didn't take this product from you. Yeah. You didn't sign nothing with me. Mm-hmm. You dropped off weed consistently and wasn't getting paid. That's not our fault. Mm-hmm. So it made them have to kind of check what they was doing. And I've had some of these big boys bow down. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The one that didn't, Stizzy, of course, they're not going to bow down because they in bed with Grizzly Peak. I wouldn't expect them to bow down. Whatever. Nug, somebody else that was in bed with Grizzly Peak. I wouldn't expect them to bow down. But I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to call you out on your bullshit, and then it is what it is. What you going to do? Yeah. I'm still here. Still got a license. Still got a good standing. Still got a good name because it wasn't me that did nothing foul. Yeah. Grizzly Peak was running around telling people, yeah, Tucky needs this, and we social equities, can you help us out? People love me. Yeah. People I ain't never met before love me, inspired by me. I've never met these people. They're going to come do it. Oh, Tucky need all right, we're going to help. We think we helping Blunt some more. Just for them to be like, when they ain't got it, oh, we ain't got it. How you don't got it? Like, how are you taking these people product, selling it, but then you don't got the money to pay them? Yeah. Nah, bruh, that ain't cool. So had to get them out, and I had to just make a decision. Do I want to keep going? Do I want to keep opening my store to pay taxes and pay staff? Mm-hmm. As much as I love my staff, I don't love them enough to keep paying them and I'm not getting paid.
Oh, you got a family.
I just like, it makes no, I'm taking care of their family, but not taking care of mine. I can't do that. Yeah. And then when I'm figuring out why and I'm able to prove it, yeah, bye. I instantly call, I call Greg. I said, hey, you know what's going on. You know they got caught stealing. Y'all seen all the books. I said, now he not renewing my lease. So not only are you going to steal from me, now you're not going to renew my lease. In a place that's been there 5 years, somewhere that I was trying to get registered as a historical site, I can't be there no more. They kicked me out. What I'm supposed to do, Greg? You're like, well, the easiest license to get is such and such. All right, I'm finna apply for that. What y'all gonna do with this license? He was like, nothing. I was like, well, if I ever do want to open a store again, what I gotta do? You the first. Don't worry about it, Tucky. We'll figure it out. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah.
I'm like, can you put that in writing? Yeah. Say less. Yeah. And that's that day forward, I got my closing date, and I was like, I'm out.
Again, the beauty of having local regulators that care, that are not corrupt, and that ones that will actually communicate with you. I got folks down in LA getting answers from them are a little bit more complicated. So the fact that like Greg and Nancy and the people in the city like want this to work and they want it to work for the locals is a huge benefit.
Hell yeah. And they know that, certain ones, they know the ones that they talking to that's not on no bullshit. Like I'm not trying to, but it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Fuck me. Like I said, I can be doing my thing without the store. You understand what I'm saying? But if I'm gonna do this the right way and this is what we doing, this is what we need to do. But hey, y'all need to let y'all know this is going on. Like the city didn't have to care that Grizzly Peak was fucking me over. They didn't have to care about that. Yeah. But they knew that they had to care because I was telling them along the whole process what was going on. You know what I'm saying? And all y'all kept saying was talk to they legal people. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Talk to them. And I'm like, they can't help me.
Yeah, they don't know anything.
Like they can't help me.
They're just getting paid too.
What do I need to do? Yeah. So once I figured out, and again, I thank Grizzly Peak for this. They the one gave me the game because I seen how many LLCs they went through. Like Grizzly Peak had 7 LLCs always working together. One was taking the rent. One was doing this. One was doing that. I didn't understand it because it wasn't for me to worry about. But now I know now. When I'm seeing the bills come through for PG&E for their other buildings, I'm like, damn, that seemed hella high. They're not tripping. They're not paying it because they moved it to an LLC. Yeah. That one's gone. Yeah. I said, oh shit, that's what game changer. Yeah. And you're not doing nothing illegal. The whole purpose of having an LLC is a limited liability company.
Yes.
You're limited what your liability is to these debts or whatever. Once I got more,
you just got to learn how to protect yourself. There are models out there that protect small businesses and large businesses, and a lot of us aren't aware of them
at all.
And so we need to get game on that so that we can actually protect ourselves and survive.
I think we just came up with a class the city need, but I ain't gonna say nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Real talk.
Anything that like all these conversations we have, these ones on camera, off camera, this is stuff that we need to get to our city administrator so they understand what's really going on, because if they're not in the room to hear these conversations, they don't really know that that's going on. There's a need and a void for a need that need to be filled for people to understand what really a LLC means. I think most people get the LLCs because they know we have to have an LLC. They understand that it means limited liability, but they really don't understand what that means.
They don't understand the why.
They don't understand the why.
Yeah.
And that's a void. You can have a class for that. The city can get money to pay people to teach that.
Yeah. As opposed to just teaching the history of cannabis.
Come on,
there's a lot of these cannabis training programs seem to focus on a lot of theoretical stuff that it sounds cool, it sounds sexy, but like, does it actually help you run your business?
How do I make money?
Yeah, and how do you protect yourself?
Period.
It's critical. Well, now the store's closed, but I know you have a lot of other things going on. And I think one of the most important stories of anyone in cannabis is the ability to pivot.
Yes, sir.
And ability to, okay, this happened here, now I'm taking it over here.
Yes,
so
sir.
you have all this experience in the space of selling independently, having the store. So now what's your pivot now?
I'm actually finna move to delivery. And what's crazy is for the longest time when we opened, I've had access to a delivery license because I have a dispensary, but I never wanted to tap into it because I just felt like it would be safety risk and this, that, and the other. Yeah. And it's a trip because now that I'm pivoting to that, I'm pivoting because of the safety risk of having the store. Exactly. So it's a trip like to find out. Originally opened in 2018, storefront is the best safety you could have. But after 5 break-ins in 6 years, I don't think I'm safe. I'm a target.
Absolutely.
You know where I'm at. Mm-hmm. You know the days and hours I'm open. You can just come to me. Whereas if I'm a delivery and then I have a cannabis event license, me and my partner Jamal, we have a cannabis event company. We can throw events. I have a delivery license. I can deliver to the events. Yeah. So I'm basically a mobile dispensary, but I'm not a stationary target. Mm-hmm. I pop up when we want to pop up. We go about our business. But I'm not just doing pop-ups. We want to do educational. We want to do, you know what I'm on. I'm Absolutely. All about spreading the good word of how we can do things and involve cannabis, whether it be an art show, whether it be a cooking show, whatever it is. I have a license to do that, and that's what I'm doing. I'm pivoting back to direct to consumer. Mm-hmm. And I can do it at a cheaper price. Like I know, I always try to have blunts and more be the cheapest prices. Yep. I would eat my profit or pay the excise tax for the customer so I could have the cheapest price. Like if pre-rolls are 44 everywhere else, I was charging 40 because I just didn't believe in. Some stores do like 120% markup or whatever.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, I don't do that. Like
2X, 3X,
if I buy it for 15, the most I try to sell it for is 30. Like I'm not trying to, and that's actually high for me.
Yeah.
But some places will buy for 15 and sell it for 45.
Yeah, people don't know like the markup between what the manufacturer or the creator of the product when they drop it off to the club versus what you're paying is out of control. A lot of these corporate clubs, it's 2x, it's 2.5x. I'm running into 3x
3
now,
times, yes.
and it's like, and then the only way you can be competitive is to lower your price. But as
that's
a
not
manufacturer,
fair.
like we're kind of bare bones as it is, so we can't knock off 20% of our price to make it work. So when the club is doing a 3x jump, the customer sees our product and thinks our product
it's expensive.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous.
And this is why these conversations got to be had, and why I don't mind telling people what's going on, because I've been on both sides.
Yeah.
That's why when I talk to vendors, I'm like, look, bro, you can tell me your MSRP, but I can't do that. I'm in East Oakland. Yeah. We're not in Hollywood. Yeah. I don't believe in an $80 eighth. Yeah. I love my niggas I got some people that sell them kind of eighths, and I love them. Don't get me wrong, we all homies. But for me personally, as a smoker, I'm not giving nobody $80 for an eighth. No. I don't give a fuck what it is. Yeah. That's just me personally. Yeah. So if that's the case, I got to show that with my pricing in the stores. I done have some people come with some good weed, but it's not worth $80, fam. Yeah. It's an eighth of weed. Yeah. Eighth of weed on the streets is $15 right now. Yeah. So I got to be able to I know this ain't the streets. You got to pay for the, okay, I get it. But I'm not finna charge nobody $80. Yeah. If you got this weed and it's $15 and you can give it to me for $15, let me get that for $15. I'm going to do what I do. Why are you worried about what I'm doing on the store? Because I'm not trying to mark it up to make no hella $5 money. Yeah. I'm trying to make my thing is, and I've told Grizzly Peak this because they couldn't understand it. They used to be mad. Like, dude, every month you're not going to make a Bentley profit. Yeah. Some months it might be a Toyota Corolla. Yeah. But as long as it's profit, it's profit. So for me, if I'm making $1 and I'm able to sell 50 more products than you, I've made more money than you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Saying? If you sit on the shelf and you wait on that one sale to beat me out, I done sold it 50 times because I'm lower than you. That's hustler shit. That's just what I'm up under. I'm like, if all the stores got good customer service, all the stores got the same weed, what's going to make me different than anybody else? Nobody give a fuck I'm equity. What's going to make me different? Pricing. Yeah. Everybody can have good customer service. Everybody can have the same pricing. And that's just with the streets. Yep. Now, in the streets, everything was 10, 10, 10, so you couldn't really do that. But what I did, I had deals. You spend a certain amount, I give you a weed cookie. You spend a certain amount, you get an extra bag or two. So the same stuff I did on the streets, that's how I'm doing on the inside, and that's for me the way to go. I'm not charging them, but I've sat there and people have told me you should charge 3 times the amount for this. Why? Yeah. But you got lights, staff, security. I get it, but you charging way too much, dog. You could charge half that and still make money to cover all that and still make money, because now you got the people looking at the brands like they're expensive and they're not. We're selling it for not what we bought it for. So it's not the brand fault, and I know that on both sides. That's why I've said it several times. I don't know if you noticed, but in liquor, all the liquor companies get together and they set pricing for top tier, middle tier, bottom tier, and it's standard pricing for everybody. Cannabis needs to do that. Yeah. Period. Really, like get all the
if we tried.
Get all the growers and my thing is everybody should make money. There's no reason through the whole chain of command from seed to sale. Everyone should make money. There should not be one facet that's making more than the other. Yeah, it shouldn't be bullshit. The state
being the only people making the money.
Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, that's not. But it's not many of us that want to sit down and have that conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, my weed is this should be okay. Well, you in the top tier. We put you in the top tier. This is the set price for all top tier. We're not spending no more. Because like I said, I can go to the streets right now, buy some shit that's tested, ready to go on the streets, because it's coming from legal labs, but it's on the street now. I can get it for 15. Yeah. Like I can buy shit right now. I ain't gonna say I am buying, but I can buy shit right now for 800-900 pounds. No problem. Yeah. Good to go. Ready to put in the bag and sell.
Top shelf. Yeah.
Come on now. Yeah. And you want me to charge people how much? No, it makes no sense. It has to make sense, but it's only going to do that if we all get together and centralize the price. I know people don't want to hear that, but it works for liquor.
And food, right? And food. Every other industry, they kind of set some kind of prices.
It's like we are in our own industry and not doing the stuff that I know we're not taxed like the same. Liquor, they get to do, we need to be treated and we need to act like we're other businesses. Yeah. Taka Vodka will never be the same price as Moet. It's just not going to happen. You got to be able to do. I don't know.
No, it's true. It's common sense. They don't want to listen. I mean, liquor is an amazing model. I know some folks in the liquor industry, and the way they're able to cut corners to get whatever they need done. I mean, it's like, and they're extremely successful for it.
Yes,
it's really sad.
Crazy.
I think, especially with the pricing issue, and I've talked to a lot of folks, some of the bigger corporate brands, and like they don't understand like. it's not just like having a cheaper price because it's in the community and they can't afford it. It's if you're in the community, you can already get it.
Yes.
Like I can get.
I'm going to the store because I'm choosing to go to the store.
I want to support them.
That's it.
But otherwise, my homie got it around the corner, $100 ounce.
My homie is Tucky.
Yeah,
so if I need to just call him, I'm going to call him.
Yeah.
But I'm coming to the store because it's an environment. I get to chill, whatever. You paying for the experience, but I don't feel you should have to pay $30 for the experience if I could charge you $15.
Yeah.
That's just...
Yeah, it's sad. And the beauty of that lounge you had in so many, we need more lounges because of this, is we need a reason for people to come to the club.
Yes.
In a lounge, they can try things, they can sample things, they can consume in a safe environment, they can actually kind of commiserate with folks, have a good time. Like that's so key to growing a business, but they make it so hard for you to have a lounge to actually do that. That's why I think your events are going to be critical, is creating a space for brands to come together, customers to come together, for a place for the culture to live. The culture is not going to live at a Stizzy store. The culture is going to live at the Happy Lounge.
Yes. And it's nothing against, just nothing against Stizzy, but they're pieces of shit. It's just, it is what it is. And I can say that because I've dealt with the pieces of shit there. It is what it is. I want to create environments for people to be able to commune and consume comfortably. Whether I'm involved or not, it doesn't matter. But I was able to show that we can have an outside consumption lounge that's safe. Yeah. The main problem I had was I used to have to beg vendors to come do PADs. Like, dude, you have a spot where you can showcase all your products for them to taste and sample, and you don't want to come do that? What is wrong with you? Yeah. I have a space for you, even if you're not. Just rent the lounge, do a private event. I used to have people do private events. Come do a private, even if you don't have nothing in the store. You have a legal brand, you want to do a private event, we'll figure. Come do it. Come do it. Yeah. I'm from the town. I understand how we got to get it out the mud and do it. That's why I never charge vendors. I've launched at least, and this is no lie, at least 30 food vendors from my parking lot in 5 years. Launched. I'm talking about all of them got restaurants now, bigger food trucks. They came to me with a pop-up tent and a table. Yeah. I'm like, man, if you got your permits to do whatever you got to do, come do your thing. I'm not tripping. Yeah. That's the community I've built, that people see that. That's why, like you said, man, being able to do what I'm doing on the road is going to be epic because I can create the environment. The city, they didn't know what to do. They're like, outside consumption lounge. They tried to not fight me on it, but they didn't know no better. They
understand the value.
They didn't understand. I'm like, well, shit, I don't got to worry about the AC, all the shit. As long as I can cover it and you can't see in or out, we chilling. Yeah. And that's what we was doing. Like, I can have whatever kind of party I want. It's a private event, private property, private, I had to work on that. No one that did it. Everybody was worried about doing it inside. I'm like, well, shit, I'm going to make inside outside. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. I'm just going to cover it. They said, come on. Easiest way to get a lounge. Yeah. Easiest way. But I think people are just like scared or just don't understand. But it's like we have people that we can talk to in these offices. Man, y'all better use that to y'all advantage. Yeah. Shit.
But also the offices need to understand. Like, I remember just being involved in cannabis and policy in Oakland for a while, getting the city, I mean, Greg is great, but just getting the wider groups of people to understand that you want businesses to be local. Yep. I understand these corporate brands, they have a lot of money to throw at it, but the corporate brand isn't going to be thinking about having local food trucks in the space. At all. And the city's not going to understand that like a local business can be an incubator for a dozen other businesses. You want to create support, you want to create opportunity, you want to create revenue for these communities, allow the community to open up their own thing. We know how to talk to our community. We know how to get our people involved, and people are going to love what we bring to them. And then we can help create a bunch of other smaller successful businesses because we actually care. We're not just about a corporate bottom line. We're not just going to contract with some big food distributor somewhere else. Nope. We're going to do it all local, and we're going to support local, and the money is going to stay local.
Bray beat my ass behind that. Like, the city was sent, somebody from the city was coming to my store once an event to harass the vendors to the point that they hit me and made, I don't know if it was a law, but they made a rule basically based on what I was doing. And I'm like, Greg, man, like, what's going? And it wasn't them. No. It was from the environmental health department. And I'm like, dude, if they have their license and whatever they're doing, and I'm on a private property, they should be able to come do whatever they want. They was hating. They was like, no, they need to have this. They need to sign up with you and say they wanted me to become I want to say the right word, but like an event, like site to house food trucks. I don't want to do that. I'm not an event host site. Yeah. I'm a business that I'm in a desert where there's no food. Yeah. I don't want my staff to have to go hella far for their lunch break. They only get 30 fucking minutes. Yeah. So if I got food here, that kills two birds with one stone. Yeah. They don't have to travel hella far. They got good food. We showcasing different brands. I'm not charging them. They making money. The city had a problem with that. I said, well, look, not to hate on nobody, but I can go right down the street and it's fucking Mexico. And they cooking on the sidewalk and everything, and they're not being fucked with. The man told me straight up, they're illegal, so there's nothing we can do about it. Oh, so since I got a legal and I'm a licensed, you can come.
You're gonna punish me for following the law. Yeah,
crazy. But I never stopped. I just was like, you're gonna have to keep coming, because I know what we doing for the community. You know what I'm saying? This is the Oakland I grew up in. A lot of these people that's in these offices ain't from Oakland or ain't been. You know, they don't understand. Like, so to them, it's just a job, and I got to do this. And it's like, nah, dude, what are you really doing? If you really bust down what you really doing, you taking money out of good folks' pockets. They're not doing anything wrong. Yeah. But you can go right up the street and see that you know they're doing something wrong, and they can't be bothered because they're not legal? Yeah. Well, I'm illegal then. Fuck it.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
It's backwards. They're trying to push us into that, back in that other space, as opposed to making the space work. It's really sad.
Period.
So I know we talked about the event. I'm super excited about the events that you're going to be doing. Definitely our brand and a bunch of other brands that we know will be there. Easy. But really excited also about your Simply Green. Just tell me about your product line.
That's crazy. So Simply Green is something I started about 3 years ago as a joke, maybe about 2.5. I was sitting home one day like normal, talking to my wife about different things I want to pitch, and I was like, man, same thing. I'm looking at weed all day. People bringing me weed all day. Weed. And I'm like, man, all this weed, you know, for the most part, it's the same. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You get a few batches where there's extra more trichome, and you're like, oh, man, it's that shit. But for the most part, weed is weed. Yeah. So I'm like, man, because people kept asking me, Tucky, you going to do a strain? You going to do a strain? I'm like, I don't really want to do a strain. I got seeds from when I was growing that a couple of growers have that they supposed to be popping soon. But I just didn't really want to go through the whole... To get a strain, it's like a 3-year process. And a lot of people don't understand that. They don't understand that you got to go from seed to sale. You got to try it. You got to make sure it's not a girl. It's a lot.
Stabilize it. It takes forever.
3 years, minimum. If you do it in a year, good luck to you. But 3 years is what I know from what I know. 3 years. I don't want to wait that long. So I'm like, I'm just gonna white label some shit, some good shit that I pick, and I'm gonna call it Simply Green. That way, no matter whatever you see, that's Simply Green. No matter what flavor it is, you know it's gonna be good. Yeah. I did that as a 100% joke. I took the shit to 85 South. Shout out to Carlos Miller and the whole 85 South team. I took it down there. Carlos went bananas. Back then, when I started it, Simply Green was Garanimals. And for some reason, no one realized it was Garanimals. I didn't tell them it was Garanimals because it just said Simply Green. Yeah. So when people, all they see was purple, they was like, oh my God, it broke down. They're like, man, this is great. So I ain't gonna say nothing. You don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. But that let me know these people are still novice on weed. Yeah. This is just Garanimals.
They just want something good.
They just want something good. Yeah. This is a good cut of Garanimals. I don't need to tell you what it is. All you see is purple weed. That's Simply Green. And it took off. 85 South kicked it off, and then whenever I would go to different shows, mess with different artists, I'd always have a bag of Simply Green with me, make sure they got it on picture. And now it's evolved into the joints and into what I'm finna do something called 4 bangers. So I'm finna have, I'm a joint roller. So I got these in backwoods, but doing them in backwoods, custom tip, 4 flavors of weed. I'm gonna do the same thing with the joints, custom tip, paper. Probably use elements because they hold better. I like rice paper, but it's hard to make them hold all that weed with the tip. But yeah, I took a joke and turned it into a brand, and people want it. So I was like, all right, well, shit. I don't have to have a store to sell these products. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So once I figured that out too, it's like, okay, I can still sell without having a store. Man, I'm trying to cut the overhead down, bro. Yeah. So that's what I'm on. I'm going to have the Simply Green joints, the Simply Green backwoods, the 4 bangers. All my apes are 4 grams instead of 3.5. I believe in Farmer apes. So all my apes are 4 grams. I got merch. Everyone knows about the Evolution of Blunt shirts. So I'm going to have them always, in conjunction with that. But being able to sell without having a store works for me. So that's what we're doing. I'm just pivoting kind of like back to what I used to do.
I love it. I love it. I think one of the most important parts talking about your brand is we've talked about it. We've had a couple folks on Cream and a couple other brands.
Shout out Kareem.
About the value of white labeling, the value of in this market, real estate is hell. Raising money is horrible. So if you know how to sell and market and you have a good palate, good weed, you know good products, it might make more sense for you to buy it from one of these farms that are about to go under it, package it in your own packaging, and then sell it. And it's a great model because you don't have the overhead. And since your focus is marketing and sales, you can do that, pick the good stuff, talk to your community. You know how to sell it to them. But I think the mistake that a lot of young folks make in this space is they try to come up with a logo or an idea that's somebody else's.
Yep.
They want to steal something from Nestle or from a candy company,
Yep.
and then you get cease and desist, and you people coming after you. I remember the first time I saw Simply Green, I was like, man, that looks like that
familiar.
from Home Depot. I was like, how's he getting away with this? And to hear about how you handled it is like, to me, that's like a master class in ethically and properly doing business. So tell people how. What happened with that.
Simply Green originally, I wish I had the old bag, but Simply Green originally looked like Simple Green, the cleaning solution.
Yes.
Same color breakdown, same logo, same triangles in the background. I specifically wanted it to look like Simple Green.
Yes.
Again, it was a joke. So when it took off, I had other cannabis stores reaching out saying, hey, Tucky, we want some Simply Green. Shout out Pharmacy in Berkeley, my boy Greg. I went out there, and not just Greg, but shout out their whole family.
Yeah, Pharmacy, Sue.
Mama
Yeah,
Sue,
yeah.
everybody. But Greg, he hit me
He
personally
keeps
'cause I know him. The same Greg, when we talked about earlier, that I went and bought my first pair of shoes from on my own, that same Greg is the general manager at Pharmacy.
Okay, excellent.
So, Greg Brown.
Hire local.
Yeah, hire local. So I went there. He seen it. He said, Tucky, we'll buy all of it, but you got to change this packaging. I'm like, he was like, we're going to get cease and desist right away. They're a MSO. They're MSO.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Pharmacy's owned by a much bigger company.
Yeah, it's multi-state operator. So they can't just put, stuff that looks like something else on the shelf. I called my graphic designer that designed this while I was there, like, hey, I need a new bag design. He was like, all right, cool. So what I did, I called Simple Green, the company, found out they was in California, called them, a couple of phone calls. It took me a couple of phone calls. I ended up getting with their owner, the actual owner, and their lawyer. Got with them. I already had the second bag designed. Showed them the first bag. Said, hey, I'm in cannabis. Are y'all interested at all? Maybe in hemp. We talked a little bit. They're like, no, we're not right now, but we may be, whatever. I was like, but this is the original bag. This is how it came out. None of these bags are being used anymore. No problem. These are the new bags. Not only did they say they loved both designs, they really loved the new bag, but I didn't get a cease and desist because I called them.
Yes.
They was like, oh, well, you already done what we would be telling you to do anyway. I have it in writing. No cease and desist. As long as you agree to not sell these on the shelves anymore, you will be good. And we still got a good relationship. I knew that because I'm watching the space. Everybody had no originality. Everyone was stealing somebody else's logo and putting it on their brand. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. A lot of people will be like, oh, well, I'm too small. They're not going to catch me. Someone's watching.
Yeah.
So I just would rather get ahead of it than to get in trouble. And literally overnight, after I left 85 South, it went from joke to, okay, bro, you got to call these people. And that's what I did.
I mean, the importance of just being straight up, being honest, and being direct, and what that can do for your business, instead of being scared that something's going to come down the pike later, and having stores whatnot want to carry it, to be able to say, I talked to them, this is approved. I mean, like, I don't know, I'm corny. I like being upfront and honest.
Me
I
too.
like being direct, and it gives you the power of that protection. So I think that was a brilliant way to do it, and it's an amazing brand. I know a lot of folks who know about the brand don't even know your connection to it. Others now with your face on it, now they definitely will. But just at the power of being able to do that.
I've been hearing that too. Like, I didn't really realize Simply
was you.
Green was
Yeah.
you because other stars are posting it and saying it. And then I just throw the hashtag out there. If anybody talking about weed, I'll just throw Simply Green out there. Those are ways to market for cheap.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't understand, marketing isn't just you paying a marketing company. This is marketing. Yeah. Me coming up to an event handing you one of these joints, or me tagging it on someone's page that's famous and then they re-tagging it. That's all marketing. You have to be, with us in this space and the limited amount of money we make, we have to figure out ways to creatively market. Yeah. This was marketing for me. Yeah. The joke turned into free marketing. Not free marketing, you still got to pay, but at the same time, with me doing the white labeling, most of the companies I'm white labeling from, I have in the store. Yeah. So I'll buy 2 cases of my flower, which is your flower, and then I'm going to buy 2 cases of your flower, which is your flower. Yeah. Yeah. And now we got both. So I'm selling 3 strands of your store. And what's crazy is I was selling Garanimals right next to other brands that had Garanimals, but people would buy mine. 4 grams in there, because people started to realize it was Garanimals after a while, because I had to start putting it on there. But 4 grams are in mine, and you're getting it cheaper. My goal was to have you buy 2/8 and get the 2/8 for $60 out the door. So you're getting 8 grams for $60. Yeah. That's the closest street as I could get. Yeah. But that's what I was on. And people love that shit. They're like, I can get this kind of weed. My weed is right up top tier with all these other ones. Same everything, but you charging $15 less? I want that. Yeah. Easy marketing to me.
Yeah. Well, it's the key to actually knowing your community, like knowing who you're selling it to and knowing what their needs are. And again, this focuses back on hiring local small businesses, being from that community, having roots in that community, and as opposed to just showing up to take advantage of that community.
That's it.
So we got the events coming out. We got Simply Green all over the spot. Any other kind of pivots, any kind of other things you're starting up now we want to talk about?
still speaking. I'm
We're
working
giving education.
Yeah,
I mean, people need to know
I'm
they
still
can reach out to you.
teaching. Oh yeah, I be forgetting about that.
Yeah.
I teach.
Yes.
So
this is the biggest thing. Like, first of all, let me
Yeah.
stop. The fact that you have actually done this for years and you're turning around and trying to give that knowledge to people and not trying to rake them over the coals with pricing. We got black and brown folks all over this country who are trying to figure out how to get into cannabis, and their advisors are other big companies that are waiting to take advantage of them. Like so many people, they partner with somebody and then they have to buy whatever they tell them to buy, and they're getting their handcuffed, and they don't realize that people are only telling them that so they can get a cheaper price for their own club somewhere else. They're getting screwed. So to be able to actually come to someone that looks like them, that has had all the experiences, and then pay them a fraction of what you'd have to pay anyone else for all of that knowledge and experience is invaluable. So I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, you're all right.
Tell them.
So I teach 4 courses. I have like an intro to cannabis course. I have a intro to business course. I have a secondary for all those, and then a third for all those. But the way I do my teaching is based on you. So I try to do it 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays preferably, 2 hours a day. I charge like $1,500, but then out of that $1,500, you get like $500 back at the end. That I don't tell people until the end, but you know now. I give you all my connections, like anybody in my black book, because while I'm doing these 6 weeks with you, we're building relationships because you telling me what you want. A lot of teachings, a lot of instructions are based on a curriculum. I have a curriculum, but what do you want to know to get you to where you need to get? Let me teach you that. I don't want to teach you a bunch of stuff you're not going to need. I'll teach you the basics, certain stuff you're going to have to know, but I base my teaching on what you need to get you where you need to go. And 99% of the time, it changes their perspective on what they want to do. Most of them come in wanting to grow and sell weed. Not that I'm trying to turn you away from that, but if you don't understand the 280E law codes, if you don't understand that you're going to basically be spending about $1 to $3 million and not making any of that back for 1 to 3 years, if you're okay with that, then come on and do grow and selling. But if you're not okay with that and don't have that money to do with that, let me teach you about some other ways to do it. What are you good at, ma'am or sir? Well, I'm good at marketing. Well, let's talk about how to market in cannabis and how to do that. So that's kind of like how I teach. It's worked out. I've had 8 students so far, maybe 10 in 2 years. I'm not complaining. Like one student I was shocked when I got my first payment. And what I did with my money for the first class, the first students that bought, I went and bought a Rode Podcaster so I could be able to do it professionally. You know what I'm saying? Headphones, like, I'm doing it on Zoom, but I want it to look right. Yeah. So I'm putting my money right back in to the stuff to help me teach. I got a book I'm writing now, so I want that subject matter expert money. I want that
from a real subject matter expert. Because most people, if you're hiring someone, they're not a subject matter expert. They're someone who came from a different field or just know how to market themselves. All they learned about cannabis came from a book. They're not actually giving you direct help. So subject matter expert from someone who's actually an expert in cannabis is critical.
That's what I want. I want the keynote spots. Like, I can sell weed. I'll do that. We can have the events. I need these events to take off because for me, it's not just about putting on a weed event. When I tell people I got a weed cannabis license, they think it's just about having a smoke out. No, motherfucker. We could do so much more than have smokeouts. Like, we can have a bunch of people in the rooms doing podcasting. That could be a cannabis event. We having live podcasts. We got the weed off to the side that you can buy while you listen to this live podcast. That's money for 3, 4, 5 different people in that one event. That's what I'm on. I'm going to make my money because, okay, it's 5 people in here. You vending as a food vendor, I'm getting some money off of that. You vending as a cannabis vendor, I'm getting some money off of that. You vending as a clothes vendor, I'm getting some money off of that. I don't need to make money in one clump. It's just like when I was younger. When I was just out throwing the parties, and it's the same stuff. I used to throw parties right down here, Mingles. What's the Oak Tree? I rapped. My microphone a little road rashed, but I used to rap. I would have headline rap dudes come and rap before me. I would rap after them. I knew that they was better than me. I didn't care about that. My goal was to sell weed that I had at the party, sell weed cookies that I had at the party, and then showcase other black brands and other black talent at a black-owned club. This is what I'm doing in 05. You don't think I'm finna do that now? That's what I'm on. That's why I'm like, nah, we missing it's a void for events out here. And a lot of people don't have a cannabis event license. We have one in Oakland that covers all of California. Yeah, it's time to get to it. It's time to get to it.
Looking forward to these events. What are some of the channels that people can follow you? Give them your socials, all this stuff so they know how to follow and keep up with
Easy peasy. And that's something about marketing too. Keep your shit uniform so people can find you. I'm Tucky Blunt everywhere, just like Lucky with a T. Blunt spelled just like it's spelled, but if you want to find me, Tucky Blunt, it's on everything. You'll see a cartoon face of me. which is from the Freak Brothers show. Shout out to the Freak Brothers. But I'm Tucky Blunt everywhere. I'm super easy to reach. If you're interested about the classes, hit me on IG. Send me a direct message. I'll get it, and I'll send you my email. It's just that simple. I'm super, super chill. I will say this. Sometimes when I'm in public, I don't want to talk about weed.
Yeah.
So just, sometimes if you can feel my vibe, let me vibe. Sometimes I just want to be Alfonso. I don't want to be Tucky all the time. You know what I mean? So just, if you see that I am very peaceful and very, shake hands and all that, because I just was somewhere else the other day. I didn't know dude from a can of paint. Came, shook my hand, gave me a hug, said, man, I'm so thankful to, just be in the room with you. And I'm like, that's crazy to me still. You know what I'm saying? Still like, huh? But I had to go back and tell him, I'm like, bro, who told me who he was with? I'm like, man, thank you. But sometimes I just want to be chill. So just allow me that. But I want to say thank you to you. And I know this ain't about you, but shout out to you and your brand. So when we closed, I had a few extracts still on the shelf. I was selling them to everybody, whatever. And Ramon that came in, he was like, wait, all these paid for? I started laughing. I said, they paid for under my watch, because everything, once September came, everybody was COD. Yeah. That's something else, sidebar. That's something else that's missing from the space. Make COD great again. Yeah. This term shit is stupid as fuck. Terms is dumb. I've never, ever in my life owed nobody for weed. I only bought what I could afford. Yeah. So brands, be nice to some of the dispensaries. If they're going to buy 2 cases from you, sell them in 2 cases and then bring 2 more back when they sell out. Yeah. Would you rather get your money up front or have to chase them? Man, just take what I just make COD great again. But since COD, we ain't had no problems. Yeah.
I mean, COD should be mandatory. I mean, the amount of small businesses that are going under because big corporate cannabis brands are not doing COD. They're screwing them. They're bankrupting their LLC to start a new one and just buy all new product and not paying their old vendors. I mean, so many small brands that I know are gone because a bunch of dispensaries owed them money. Yep. So COD should be mandatory. I heard they're trying to do something where if they don't pay, the state finds out and they kind of track them down later. They're kind of start some enforcement. It's not. Just make COD the law of the land, period, and everything's going to change for these small businesses.
My thing, I tell people all the time, if I'm buying a minimum, because when I took over control of Blunts and More officially, like took over myself in September of 2023. Because it's 2024 yet. In 2023, I told everybody I'm doing COD for all orders going forward, but my max order is $2K. That's all I can afford. Yeah. So if I got 10 orders at $2K, that's 20 bands. That's all I'm spending. You either take it or leave it. Yeah. I'm like, would you rather not get 2 bands that you're getting it right there, right now, or would you just who's gonna turn that down? If you're really trying to sell weed, why would you do that? Yeah. So
I found with Oakland Extracts, we've gotten into the most trouble with the most corporate dispensaries. They're the ones that really aren't going to pay you. They're going to go under and disappear. All the small dispensaries that are trying to make it work, they're trying to make it work. So what I did, and I would encourage any other brand to do, if it's a small dispensary that knows their community is trying to make it work, make whatever deal they need. If you need to knock something off the price, knock it off the price. Just do whatever you have to do so they can succeed, because they're going to come back to you again and again and again. A big corporate company, someone just gave them $20,000 of free product. You're not on the shelves anymore. So just finding people that care about you and working with them in whatever capacity they need, showing up for demos, showing up for free events, giving lots of free stuff to the staff, making sure they're properly taken care of. That's how you grow your business.
And that's marketing too. Yeah. People don't get that. I'm not telling y'all to come do a PAD for me. I've already, like I said, weed is weed to me. Yeah. My staff is the one selling it. They need to understand why your product is valuable, and you need to sell that to them. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you can't do a PAD, pay my staff to do it. Give my staff a couple apes and they'll do your PAD for it. Give them a t-shirt, give them a hat, let them do it.
That's even better because they know the customers, and the customers are more apt to listen to them than they are just some stranger standing in the corner. So it's a lot of things that we need to do to be smarter, but I super appreciate you being here.
Likewise.
Really looking forward to these events, looking forward to continuing to smoke and Simply Green, and just obviously you're inspiration for a lot of folks out here, and there's a lot of people around this country that are trying to figure out how to do what you did and make it work, and the fact that they can come directly to you for that knowledge is invaluable. So beyond what you're doing in cannabis, just what you're doing for our community as a whole really matters, and much respect for that.
Appreciate it, cuz.
Appreciate you, man.
Now you already know.